This conference will now be recorded.
So good morning. This is the Wednesday Yaskawa VFD training class, and today we're going to record a session on harmonic distortion. The reason for doing so is we want to be able to put this out for people to review at their own time schedule, and because the total harmonic distortion issue it directly affects the power factor issue, which affects how we use, interface with, pay for the power that is delivered to us by the power utility. The effect of poor power factor, politically, I'm just going to step out of the technical realm for a second, has most significant effect on the generator of the power. And therefore, the people who make the power plants, are the ones that would most like to have good power factor. A bad power factor also, to a certain extent, affects transmission lines in terms of losses, etc. But the motivation is really from the power generators. Now, your rate structure in California is determined by the Public Utility Commission through the company that charges you, and in most cases it's San Diego Gas and Electric, Southern California Electric, or I don't know what SCE stands for, and then PG&E, which is Pacific Gas and Electric. And these have essentially, in the past few years, become transmission companies. They've divested themselves of their generation assets, and the generation has been taken over by other companies. In California, a growing amount of the generation is moving towards what they call green energy, renewable energy, etc., and that would be primarily solar and wind power sources. So, whereas in other parts of the world and in other parts of the United States, the utility rate structure affects what your power factor usage is as a user, because as a user you can affect the power factor on the line. If you use your power that is delivered in an inefficient way, it results in a poor power factor. It's really that simple. In California, you don't have a lot of financial motivation to correct your power factor based on how you're charged on your utility bill. My understanding, and I'm a little bit fuzzy on this subject, is that there used to be a power factor penalty, such that if your power factor went below a certain value, and power factor is measured on a scale of 1 being perfect, then you were charged a penalty for on your power bill. In the state of Washington, the rate structure is different, their focus is different, and for example, when you install new equipment in the state of Washington, my understanding is that before you get your use permit, in other words, before you can turn on your 300 horsepower pump, an inspector comes out. He has a total harmonic distortion meter. He has a power factor meter, which will measure displacement power factor and distortion power factor, the two main components. And if you pass, you get your use permit, and if you don't, you don't. The motivation is very high at that point for you to comply, and the compliance specification is IEEE 519. Latest version is 2014. We'll cover that in this session today. So, from a political standpoint, the state of California is not, at the present time, highly motivating its users to comply to IEEE 519. The current state in this year 2021 is characterized by the rebate program from Pacific Gas and Electric. For the first time in my experience, your rebate is directly affected by your power factor on what you're trying to get your rebate for. So again, using the 300 horsepower pump application, the 300 horsepower pump is installed, and you may apply for a rebate of certain dollar level per horsepower. The base rebate is $20 per horsepower, so you would get back $6,000, and there's really no compliance necessary for that. The next level up is, and I stand to be corrected on this, but I believe it's $40 a horsepower, and that level is going to require that you comply to IEEE 519. Then the level up from that has some other compliance issues that are not relevant to this presentation. And it's a good step forward. I think that PG&E will be reviewing their rebate program and its specification. I think they admittedly have a certain number of things that they want to change. The bureaucracy is such that they can't just change them immediately. They have to go through a review process. Unfortunately, in the present version, if you install that 300 horsepower pump, in almost all cases, it will cost you more to make that system compliant and than the rebate you would get for doing so. In other words, the delta between the base rebate and the rebate you would get for compliance to IEEE 519, that money, which I believe is, the difference between 40 and 20 horsepower, or $20 per horsepower, so it's 20 bucks. It would cost you a lot more than that to make your system comply. So very few people are going to actually be financially motivated to do that. There are other reasons why you would want to have better power factor as an end user. We'll discuss some of those today. But that trend is important, because if PG&E has come out finally with a reference to IEEE 519 compliance, and they intend to change the specification to further motivate, it is on the very near horizon. When I say very near, I mean 2 to 5 years, that further compliance motivation will be implemented, because this is a core issue in terms of efficiency of power generated versus power used, and it has to be done. Regardless of your politics on the issue, if we use more power than we can generate, it's not a good thing. And similarly to the climate issue, there's all kinds of political issues with regards to the climate, but if we pollute more than the planet can stand, then it's not a good thing. So in the end, this session is aimed at preparing you for the, in my opinion, inevitability of the necessity to practice good power factor design and implementation so that we can use our power more efficiently. With that, I'm going to move to the slide presentation that I prepared. This is initially, I'm just going to talk about some basics. Again, this is more for the record than anything else. And my computer needs to wake up. GoToMeeting is not responding. Oh, nice. I love that when it happens on a recorded session. I think what I may have to do is end this meeting and ask you to log back in, and we'll re-record it, because it's not allowing me to go to the slideshow. Okay, I'm going to do that. I'm going to ask you, I apologize for this, but I'm going to ask you to re-log in to the meeting so that we can continue with the slideshow. I don't know what I'll do about the recording, but I'll figure that out. Let's see, it's not really allowing me to do anything. So, I'm going to end this meeting, and I'm going to ask you to log back in.